Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the You Are Worthy Network. I know you're running around with your heads spinning this week. Maybe you're going to be going to the grocery store. Maybe you've already been. Maybe you're already starting to bake. Maybe you're stressing a little bit. Maybe you're excited. You got family flying in today. Wherever you are on that radar, I'm excited and I'm humbled because I get to be the one to remind you today because I doubt you've heard it yet. If you have, that's excellent, but I get to be the one to remind you that you are worthy of love, respect, and success. And as exciting as the holidays are, and they are, we have a lot to be grateful for. I'm always conscientious of there's people that are going to be watching that may be dealing with grief. Maybe this is their first holidays without a loved one. And so I always want to be conscientious of that. And for you, I'm thinking of you. I'm praying for you. And God's got you. Just want to put that out there. I'm excited today because we have another incredible guest that I think you're going to find extremely energetic, authentic, and warm. I think I'll probably have a few more descriptive words after, but those are the three that come to my mind after getting to know her a little bit. But enough about me. Let me introduce you to Kristin. Kristin Ericksen is a peak performance coach, keynote speaker, and transformational business leader recognized for helping founders elevate the internal capacity, energy, clarity, and emotional resilience that drive sustainable growth. Her work sits at the intersection of performance, purpose, and strategic leadership, equipping entrepreneurs to scale their businesses without sacrificing their well being or identity. As the founder of Break Free, Make It Happen, Kristin partners with high achieving entrepreneurs and executives to convert energy into execution, clarity to strategic direction, and performance into predictable, measurable momentum. Her signature Super Goal Achiever methodology blends neuroscience backed performance principles with identity level transformation, guiding leaders to operate with intention, alignment, and long term vision. Kristin's past spans three distinct arenas: celebrity fitness, financial services, and multi-million dollar entrepreneurship, giving her a rare holistic understanding of what it takes to succeed at the highest levels. Having coached elite performers, advised clients in complex wealth strategies, and built successful ventures of her own, she brings an integrated whole person approach to modern leadership. Recently featured on the TEDx stage, Kristin is known for blending strategy with soul. Her work centers on developing leaders who create impact as well as income and who understand that success built from the inside out is the only kind that lasts. Kristin's calling is to help leaders become the kind of person their purpose can rely on so they can build businesses that thrive, legacies that endure, and lives that feel powerfully aligned. Wow. That's an impressive resume. And before we even jump in, I want to say to you guys, her TEDx is amazing, and we're going to put the link to that in the comments, as well as other links to find her will be in the show notes after we're done today. But Kristin, it's so good to be with you. Welcome to the You Are Worthy Network.
Thank you, Steve. It's such an honor to be with a worthy person. You are just doing great things out in the world, and worthiness is something that so many people struggle with. So, thank you so much for bringing this network to life.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. It's been humbling and it's an honor to be able to serve in that way for sure. So before we jump into all the different exciting backgrounds that you have and the exciting things that you're doing now, tell folks a little bit about yourself. Where do you live and where you from? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I like to start with a little jingle. I was born in Minnesota, raised in Arizona, spent 15 years in Los Angeles, moved to New York City, and landed in South Florida. So that's where you see me today.
I think you've done that a time or two.
Just a couple.
And you got the Christmas vibe going in the back for sure.
Yeah, I figured at this point, Christmas is every single day as far as I'm concerned. If we're out there
Mm.
giving gifts, our gifts to the world, that's Christmas. That's the spirit of Christmas. But I do happen to like the color green as well.
That's awesome. So let me make sure I caught that jingle right. So you grew up first in Minnesota, right?
Born in Minnesota, raised in Arizona, and then from Arizona, I ended up getting a wonderful scholarship to Pepperdine University in Malibu, California, and then spent 15 years in Los Angeles. And from there, the career shifted. I had an incredible opportunity, that moment in time where you jump and just go for it. What do you have to lose? I ended up in New York City for 8 years. Got really tired of the cold weather, Steve, which is why, like all New Yorkers, we end up in Florida.
Right. That makes total sense. Um, okay, so you went to school at Pepperdine. What would at that age of life, you're a young adult, you have big dreams. Give us a little glimpse into what you were dreaming as a young girl.
For sure. I think a lot of the women on here might be able to relate to that picture that your mom has of you where you're in a little dance recital tutu with your tap shoes on and you're on stage. And that's basically where it all started. I started in the performing arts, singing, dancing, acting, loved the stage, loved performance. I sang in my mom's church. My mom was the minister of music in our church for 53 years. So I just kind of grew up around that. My mom was an incredible musician herself. Music is just a huge part of our family as well as our faith. My grandpa was a Lutheran minister, so just kind of always growing up around that. And Pepperdine University gave me an amazing scholarship. At the time, it was the largest scholarship ever that they had given for musical theater. It was my love, it was my dream to be on Broadway. However, I was also very realistic that my mom always talked about it's great to chase your dreams and you should always chase your dreams. However, just remember that you might need a backup plan just in case. So, although I was at Pepperdine for musical theater, my other love was kinesiology. I was an athlete. My father was the strength coach for the Utah Jazz. So if you blend performance, high performance with theater and sports, it just kind of it led itself to high performer, high performance. I was a gymnast, danced professionally for holy smokes, I think 20 some odd years. So I was always in a rehearsal, as I say, Steve, always in a rehearsal.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Um, so okay, so you get done with Pepperdine, you go into the workplace. How did you get connected to wanting to do celebrity fitness?
Isn't it interesting, Steve, how inevitably some of the worst times in our life will end up being the best times? My sophomore year in college, I ended up with an excruciating back pain from a car accident that I was in my senior year in high school. Had no idea that this injury was going to rear its ugly head, but it did. And as a result, I landed in the hospital, couldn't walk. I was there for 10 days. Inevitably, I had to give up my scholarship because I couldn't perform. I couldn't dance. I was in excruciating pain as a young woman, 21 years old. And
Mhm.
at that point, I thought to myself, okay, I have to get this back fixed. There's no reason that I should be in this amount of pain at this young of age. And thankfully, thank you, by the grace of God, I was led to an incredible physical therapist in Malibu, California, who just happened to be the physical therapist for lots of A-list celebrities. Now, I want to encourage people to really listen to what I'm going to share with you next. There was a moment in time while I was at that physical therapy clinic where the opportunity was presented to me to work there. The physical therapist had fixed my back and he noticed that I was transitioning my career from performance into kinesiology, so he offered me a job. Literally, the maybe the first or second week on the job as a physical therapist assistant, Nick Nolte walks into the office. Now, if you are 50 years or older, you probably know who Nick Nolte is. If you're 50 years or younger, you might not know who Nick Nolte is. Well, he's a famous actor. And he came in looking for someone to help him with his health and fitness. And at the time, he was really looking for somebody to do massage therapy for him. So he asks, "Isn't anybody around here able to fix my problem? I really want to bring somebody into my home because I'm going to need this more often than not." Now, as a self starter, I just inevitably, because it was ingrained in me, I raised my hand and I said, "Sure, I'm your girl." Now, Steve, it gets funny. I had no licensing at that point. I was a sophomore in college, even though yes, I was studying kinesiology, anatomy, physiology, but I was just say yes and figure it out later. So that's kind of where it birthed, but thankfully I obviously did get licensed. I had an amazing career in Los Angeles with A-list celebrities because once you fix one of them, they often tell their friends. And it was an incredible journey outside of being stuck in traffic half of my life.
Yeah.
It was an incredible journey. And it's a lesson, Steve, to say, you know what? If you're going to go in on something, go all in. Go all in. Go ahead and say yes. If it's something that moves you, if it's something that you know that you can achieve, go ahead and say yes, because inevitably God will put the pieces together and the people, the places, the environments to actually make that dream come true. And 15 years later, I had an incredible career in Los Angeles. I had one client move me to New York City to do the same thing, to fix them. I basically was known as, "I'm going to fix you. If you had an injury, I'm going to fix you." And it was just a love of mine. I just wanted to give back the physical therapist that fixed my back and brought me back out of pain. I made it my obsession to learn as much as I possibly could about the human body, particularly the lower back and the spine and the neck, to help fix people because nobody should be in pain. You should not have to live your life in pain. So it was an amazing career. It really was, and I'm grateful for it. I have so many stories of celebrities that I'll probably have to write a book at some point. But lots of lessons, lots of beautiful lessons learned throughout that career.
Did you actually get to know Nick Nolte through that?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, I was there at the house at least once a week, more often than not. I mean, as most celebrities, they want to just relax. So 9 times out of 10, they actually just fall asleep. But it's their
Hmm.
only downtime. They work, celebrities work at a very high pace. They're very high achieving, very intense individuals. So when it's time to settle down and relax, they want peace, they want quiet, they want recovery.
Yep.
Because any high performer knows that while you're going to have to go, 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 the rest and recovery is just as important, if not more important, to be able to go and achieve that next goal.
Yeah, for sure. That's huge. So how did you move from, so you said you did that for 15 years?
15 years in Los Angeles. And then I had one singular client approach me after I helped repair his knee. Basically, I fixed the knee after he had some surgery and he needed some post surgery rehabilitation, and proposed an offer to me again to be a completely full-time health and wellness individual. I negotiated that contract for 3 years and ended up moving to New York City. Built my business out of New York City as well. He was my primary client, but I also had outside clients as well. And same situation. It was people needed it. People wanted hands on. They wanted somebody to help them through their struggles because it can be very depressing. If somebody's had an injury and you're used to being an active individual, it can be very, very depressing.
Mhm.
And people need to know that there are so many people out there that can help you with your issue. That was in the time that I was all kinesiology, exercise science, physical therapy. It was needed. You can't, especially now. We've gone to some spas recently that have a robotic machine that's supposedly trying to fix your issues. And I just look at it and I say, "Oh my goodness, no." I mean,
Mhm.
God gave us the healing power through our hands, through our energy. Everything is energy. And I would just go into this client knowing that I want to fix you. I want to help you get out of pain physically. But it was also emotional, a very emotional thing for people to be in pain. So that was the gift. That was the gift at the time.
So did that just naturally run its course, or did an opportunity for wealth management come your way, or is there something in between that I'm not seeing?
Yes, if anybody's ever been to New York City and you go down to Wall Street and you see that big bull there, I ended up having a few clients that were Wall Street executives, and it was just such a different world for me. I come from the world of the baby boomers. My parents are baby boomers, and financial literacy was not taught in the schools, it was not taught in the home. So, after working with all of these high end, extremely successful individuals, I wanted to learn, what are they doing? How are they doing this? I had never been exposed to the stock market or investments or real estate before. So, just being in that environment, your environment is so critical when it comes to achieving the things that you want to achieve. So, imagine you're in New York City, it's per capita, there's more millionaires and billionaires than anywhere in the world. I don't know if it is there now because a lot of people have moved out. However, you learn the lessons, you ask questions, you model the things that they've been doing in their lives to become successful, whether that is communication, whether that's leadership, whether that's investments, whether that's learning from your mistakes, whether that's, auditing your environment to understand who is helping uplift you versus who is tearing you down. So these are the types of conversations that I would have with whether it's A-list celebrities or Wall Street executives. So you gather a lot of information along the way, and as they say, Steve, success leaves clues. But what I say is failure actually leaves more clues. What can you learn from people who have lost $1 million? You're going to learn some lessons from that individual of what not to do. So it was a fascinating journey. And I ended up becoming fully licensed as a financial advisor. And, again, when you're around people that have achieved things that in some ways most people can't even fathom. At that time in my life, I couldn't even fathom making more than six figures. It wasn't even a concept that I was thinking about. I'd never had my mind expanded until changing my environment. When you change your environment and you expand your mind to actually what's possible, the mind cannot contract. So
Mm,
imagine this. This was when I was 21 years old. I was asked to be the kinesiologist person that helped all of the individuals that were going to play tennis at the John Newcomb Tennis Fantasy Camp. Now, these are all ladies and gentlemen that were probably age 60 plus. So if you're trying to just go out onto the tennis court and play like you're 25, you're probably going to get injured. So I was delegated to warm everybody up, make sure that they were ready for the court, and get them warmed up to go play, and make sure that they weren't injured afterwards. And I was on a private jet. I mean, they flew me out on a private jet to go to this tennis fantasy camp when I was 21 years old. I'd never been on a private jet. So again, once your mind is expanded to what's possible, you'll start looking in different directions as, oh, maybe I'm not doing this as efficiently as I possibly could.
I had to chuckle when you started describing that because I was like, just like you gave the audience a preface of if you're 50 and older, you know who Nick Nolte is. They're like, who's John Newcomb? I've heard that name because he was a very good tennis player. I think in the 60s and 70s. Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
So
heard of him at that age.
yeah, for sure. That's funny.
Uh,
Okay, so you can kind of see like even in this short time with you, I can kind of see, the Lord directing your steps, the transition from celebrity fitness to wealth management, financial advisor. So what comes next?
what comes next? What came next was when I met my soon to be husband over here in the next room. And I love the financial services. I learned a tremendous amount of knowledge and wisdom that I'm able to help my clients with at this point. However, corporate America for me was actually very limiting. It was educational, it was experiential, but it was very limiting.
Mm,
And I'm sure, Steve, most of your listeners may have had a situation where they have a toxic situation or a toxic boss. And this is what was happening at that time before I met my fiance. And we started to have a discussion. And I said, listen, I can't do this anymore. This environment is degrading, it's demeaning, it's not allowing me to help as many people as I actually could help. Not with the company, let me be clear. The company was fantastic. It just happened to be the leader at the time whose office I was in. And I watched a bad leader clip a lot of people's wings. And I watched people feel unworthy. I watched people go into major anxiety. I
Hmm.
watched them become depressed. I watched them have panic attacks. And I thought to myself, this is not a healthy environment. And I knew that I was worthy of something far better than that. All of the other people in the office were also worthy of something far better than that environment. So I decided to graciously say thank you. I will be starting my own journey over here. I've always been an entrepreneur, short of that short stint in corporate America, and I wanted my entrepreneurial wings back. And I wanted to encourage anybody else that was feeling that way to grab on and fly with me because it was not conducive to success. It was not conducive to someone feeling good about themselves and
Hmm.
having the greatest impact that they possibly can in the world in a toxic environment. So,
Yeah, that's tough. I definitely want to talk in a minute about what you're doing now, but tell us a little bit, like give us a little insight when you left work each day on that drive home. What did you feel like?
well, thankfully, the office was right across the street from where I lived, so I got to walk home. I learned that lesson from living in Los Angeles. Live close to where you need to go. So if you need to walk, you can. Uh,
Plus, you get to
so
walk off the steam, right?
I sure as heck did. I sure as heck did. What I felt, Steve, was I have to do something about this. I knew that this was a stepping stone. I knew that I needed to learn something in that moment. So, if your listeners have ever heard, I love to share this story. I believe it is an Indian, or I think it's an Indian fable where there's a little elephant walking through, the terrain and ends up, having to relieve itself, and it relieves itself on top of a bird. And you would think that the elephant just relieved itself on top of the bird, and the bird is probably going, "What the heck?" But that actually saved the bird from freezing to death because the elephant just happened to be walking through, the snow. So it was a lesson in what we think is the worst thing happening to us can actually be the best thing, because what I learned there was what not to do and how not to be. And there's a lesson in that. There's always a lesson in that. It's either a lesson or a blessing. So I realize if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I knew the gifts that God had given. We all have gifts, but are you actually using those gifts to your full capacity? And at the time, I knew the answer was no. And I knew so many other people in the office that were super talented, super capable, but because of an unhealthy situation with an environment, with a bad leader, they continued to hit a glass ceiling. They continued to get stuck. So, any leader, if you want great results from your team, you have to create a great environment to
Yeah.
do that. You're not
Yeah.
going to have success in a bad environment. It's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, without spending too much time about that leader, whoever he was, didn't sound like he was grateful and valued the team that he had, or else he would have led different. And I like that. Everything's a lesson or a blessing. Um, I would imagine there was many Monday mornings, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday too, but many Monday mornings where going into that office, that short walk, that it motivated you, plus different interactions with him, I'm sure. Like, no, I'm not doing this forever. And even in toxic cultures like that, there are things to be grateful for. That's buying you some time. to build that bridge to where you wanted to go. Does that make sense? Would that
It
be
sure
accurate?
does. It sure does.
Yeah. So tell us about how you were able to transition into the entrepreneur world, or back, I guess back into the entrepreneurial world would be more accurate.
I literally asked God to give me a sign. I was at the end of the rope, and I ended up dropping to my knees in my kitchen of my home at the time. And I raised my hands and I said, I surrender. I don't have the strength to do this anymore. I don't know what to do at this point. Please use me. Now, I
Hmm.
later found out you have to be really specific with your prayers with God, because when you say, please use me, and you're not specific, oh
Oh boy.
boy.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
You better get ready for what's next. So be specific in your prayers. And that experience taught me that when you focus your energy, when you focus on what you really need to accomplish to get to the next level, the current present state is going to be very, very hard. But if we can focus on understanding that the hard is actually your way to easy,
Hmm.
it will change everything for you. Everybody wants to do the easy thing first, what's comfortable first. And then they understand later down the road, they find out later down the road that taking the easy path was actually the harder one. So if you just understand, I knew that I had to get through this. I knew that I had to rely on the strength of the Lord to help me do that, because at the time I was completely burnt out. However, I knew that if I could achieve this one particular goal, and at the time I had to hit about $185,000 in order for me to exit that situation. And at that time, that was a fairly lofty goal for me. Okay. Given it was a brand new industry, I completely had imposter syndrome. If any of you have had that moment where you're very at the top of the totem pole for whatever your current career was, and then maybe there was a time in your life where you were catapulted down to the bottom of the totem pole in another career, you're understanding what I'm talking about now. And I do not believe in the phrase fake it till you make it. No, that's terrible advice in my strong opinion.
Agreed.
Fake it so you can become it. It's not actually the goal that you need to achieve. It's the person that you need to become first in order to achieve the goal. People are focused over here when they actually need to be focused right here if we're looking at ourselves in the mirror. Who is the person that I needed to become to achieve that particular goal? Thankfully, by the grace of God, lots of prayer and lots of saying no to everything in my environment, saying no to going out with girlfriends, saying no to dating. This was before my fiance. I said no to everything. I knew that I only had a very short amount of period of time to make this happen. So the word no is a full sentence. And I would encourage people to understand that it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. I have this priority that I need to complete right now. I'll have to get back with you later. And the people that love you are going to understand that. They're going to give you grace, and they're actually going to cheer you on. If they're not doing that, you might want to rethink the people that are around you. So after completing what I needed to complete and making a semi-difficult decision, I had worked so hard to get all of my licensing done in literally 1 year. I passed every single test the first time. And if you've done hard things before, and then you realize, wow, okay, that was really hard, and now I'm not going to use it. But you actually will use it. It just might not be in the way that you think you're going to use it. So this is what turned back into business coaching, utilizing all of the skills that I've learned through high-end celebrities with the fitness industry, energy, how our energy dictates everything. If you're not a healthy individual, you're not going to be able to achieve the goals that you want to achieve, mixed with any kind of financial literacy and guidance that way. It's how you actually make quantum leaps. It's not just one thing. It's an all-encompassing design that is reverse engineered. If you're not engineering your goals going backwards and understanding what are the missing pieces, these are things that I could go way deep into. If people want to go deep with me, I offer that. But every single pillar within this holistic approach goes very, very, very deep. And oftentimes, Steve, what I find is it might just be one little thing that's off. One little thing.
There's so much richness that I could elaborate on. Just a couple of thoughts. When you said no as a complete sentence, I love that because if we say yes to everything, we're going to be saying no somewhere in that to the most important things. And so people, I mean, I don't bat 100%. I don't think anybody does, but I try to be a person of my yes means yes, but my no equally as strong means no. And it's not because you're not important or the event's not important, but it's because I've made a decision based on my relationship with God, first of all. And this is going to transition to the second thing I was going to say about, some of your answer there was based on the advice that I get from my circle. And my circle, and you hit on this, we constantly have to be reevaluating our circle because if you don't have a mentor in there, if you don't have an accountability part in there, by the way, on accountability, a loving, encouraging, big cheerleader accountability partner. And you don't have people that you trust in there, people that gossip in there. You don't have a healthy circle. What you have is a cage, and you need to reform that into an actual circle that supports you because nobody gets successful on their own. It absolutely takes a team. So I really appreciate a couple of those points that you made in there. So, who do you love? I mean, I'm sure this is a varied answer, but who do you really love helping in the morning? Like get you out of bed excited that you're going to serve somebody. Who is that person or group of people?
The ideal individual that hears my voice. The Lord says, your sheep will hear your voice. Is someone who has achieved a lot in their life. They've already had a lot of success in certain areas of their life. However, they know that they're not done. They know that they're not finished. They know that 65 years old retirement, what is that? I'm not retiring. If I'm doing my purpose in God's work, there is no retiring until we go to heaven. That's when you get to retire.
Mhm.
However, they feel stuck. They don't really know why they're unable to get to that next level. If they've had six figures of success and they want to get to seven, they don't they're not really understanding how or where to do that. What's possible to do? Or if you're seven figures wanting to go to eight, how are you going to do that? Or somebody that might be in a corporate situation where maybe you've put in your 20, 30 years in corporate and maybe you are ready to retire from corporate America. However, now you have all of this wisdom that you've gathered. And now, in this digital age of global digital businesses, we can do business digitally anywhere in the world. So that person often wants to take their expertise and put it into a book, put it into a course, put it into a webinar, put it into a masterclass, put it into a keynote speech. These are the people that I love to help the most because our voice is the most important thing that we can use. Why do we know that? Because God Himself, if we are created in His image, what did He do first? He spoke. And then he created. So I often teach the top two levels of value in the marketplace, not value as a person, but value in the marketplace are people who are creating and people who are communicating. And this, in turn, fulfills the unfulfillment bucket. You've had success in certain areas, but you still feel a little unfulfilled. So, the easiest way to feel worthy is if we are creating and if we're communicating, which 9 times out of 10, if you're actually doing that on a consistent basis, this is how you get results. And people that get results, they know darn well that they're worthy because their results are the receipts. That's the proof. You don't have to talk about it, you just have to be about it.
It's good. I'm gonna throw you a little curveball, but I don't want you to overthink it. So
Okay.
you've described the person you love working with. They've been successful. They've reached great heights professionally, but they're stuck. I love that. And there's still more to do. There's still more to accomplish. They're not ready to retire. So using three descript words, first things that come to your mind, who take a sampling of all these clients that you've helped.
Mhm.
And I want you to think of three descript words that describe how they felt when they were in the process of retaining you, okay, as a coach. So what were they? And the one that comes to my mind, it's not your word, but frustrated maybe. Um, but think of three before they worked with you and three after they worked with you.
Insecure, fearful, and unfulfilled. After they work with me, unstoppable, courageous, and successful in every area of their life.
Okay, hang on. Let me make sure I can keep up with that. I think I got it.
Don't
I,
ask me
I,
to repeat it.
I
I'm
got.
just
I think I got it. I know that was a curveball. So just think about that for a minute. In working with Kristin, you go from insecure to unstoppable. You go from fearful to courageous, and you move. Oh boy, I can't read my own writing. Unfulfilled
unfulfilled.
to successful at every point. That's tremendous. That says a lot about you. Um, so I know our time is a little bit short, but I want you, if you're willing, to describe how you got involved with the TEDx that you did a few months ago and what you talked about and how that has helped you personally and professionally since doing that.
So, as I mentioned earlier, Steve, I always encourage people to do the really hard thing because when you do the hard thing, you actually have proven it to yourself. It wasn't that hard. Maybe the process getting there, it's going to take work. Don't ever let anybody deter you from doing the work. Faith without works is dead. Goals without follow through is dreams left on the shelf. So you're going to have to put some work into it. However, it's not actually the result. That's just the reward. Think of it like the sprinkles on the cake. The reward is the person that you become in the
Yeah.
process. I can't stress that enough. I have an 85-year-old client that wants to write yet another book. It's the person that you become in the process. Um, and don't take that lightly because if we're not constantly evolving, you are dying. Things that are not evolving are going to go away, especially in the day and age that we live in today. If you're not skilling up, if you're not paying attention to what's around you and who you need to become in this new world, you will get left behind. And I don't say that to throw a little fear your way. However, you need to be aware. You need to be aware of what is happening around you and not stick your head in the sand. It's very, very, very important. The TEDx stage came about literally, I was at an event and I saw a gentleman that I knew was a speaking coach specifically for TEDx. And I just walked up and I said, I want to do that. He looked at me, he goes, okay, let's go. I hired him and worked my butt off. I gave him the mission of why I was doing it. I want people to hear this. A lot of people in the world are going to ask you, well, why would you do that? There's no money involved in it. And I said to an individual that had said that to me, I said, I'm not doing my TEDx for money. That's not why I'm doing my TEDx. I want to do my TEDx for impact. If somebody is able to come up and use their voice to be the voice of other people who might not be courageous enough to do that yet, and if we see these constant problems that are happening in the workplace and in the environment with bad leadership or outdated leadership, the ways of command and control don't work anymore. They have died. So if you're playing by an old set of rules, expecting different results, you're not going to get them. So my TEDx was an invitation. It was not a I am woman, hear me roar talk. I'll be clear. It's an invitation for everyone to step into better leadership in this age of artificial intelligence. People need humanity, empathy, compassion, and understanding more than we ever have ever in this world. We are at a crossroads in leadership right now. So, who is leading your path? Who is helping you achieve your goals? Who is helping you become the person that you need to become in order to fulfill the purpose that you know that you have in your heart? That's where we're at right now. Um, the result of working 6 months on that, that was a 6 month process. Running the TEDx talk out loud 3 times a day for 6 months was
Yeah.
quite the feat,
Exhausting, I'm sure.
but worth every
Yeah.
single moment. Anything of value is going to take you time. If you think it's going to happen super quickly, you can make a lot of strides very quickly if you're channeling your energy the right way, but understand that it's one little piece of the puzzle, one little piece of the puzzle, another piece of the puzzle. And if you take these little tiny intense increments and put them together, you will have created an incredible future for yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to brag on you for a second. So,
Oh,
and by the way, we're going to put the link to Kristen's TEDx in the comments when we're done. Um, I speak every Sunday, 50 times a year. And when I started putting my feet into public speaking, I was amazed at, yes, there's some similarities. Yeah, yes, a pastor most certainly can transition into that for or add to what he's already doing. But yes, it's different. But public speaking, especially at TEDx, there's so much. I'm a little reluctant to use this word, choreograph, but I guess it's accurate. But the pauses, the nods, the facial expressions, the memorization to Kristen's point, 3 times a day, the whole thing. Um, you really have to have it down pat. And she does a remarkable job. I've heard many speeches, I've heard many TEDx. She does a great job of informing you. Yes, she had points she wanted to get across, but more than information, the passion of which it was delivered, the humor that was injected, and just enough cynicism, at least I perceive that, enough cynicism to keep it entertaining, to hold your attention. So she could make the passionate point she wanted to make. So you definitely want to check it out. She does a great job on that. Um, Kristen, what next? And how will people find you?
thank you, Steve. And thank you for the TEDx plug. I appreciate it. It's a great message. And if it resonates with you, just make a little comment and share it with somebody who you might know that needs to hear that message as well. What's next on the horizon is I do have an upcoming masterclass. We host retreats. We always have something going on online. The easiest way to find me is to simply go to my website, which is KristinEricksen.com. You can look under the speaking tab. You can look under the events tab. That's the easiest way. And what's next is to really help people understand that There's three components to getting to that next level. The three components are to audit, elevate, and execute. And what I find is people often only have one. But if the other two are missing, you're not going to be able to reach the next level. Most of this definitely comes back to energy, as I mentioned before. In order to be a high achiever, a high performer, your energy is everything. It's not a strategy problem, it's an energy leakage problem. People are leaking energy everywhere,
Mm.
whether it's that bad boss that you're focusing your energy on, whether it's, oh my goodness, I stayed up too late and now I'm exhausted the next day. Maybe it is I'm not exercising in the gym to make my body healthy so I'm able to sustain a really high period of performance and focus and everything that it takes to achieve, as I call, super goals. Super, I'll just give it to you quick, stands for stretching, urgent, purpose driven, energizing, and results engineered. These are the types of goals that are going to give you a quantum leap. Not everybody wants to have a quantum leap, but I find that in this day and age, if we're not at least striving for a quantum leap, we're going to get left behind. So it is my passion to really help expand people's mind to say what's possible. You don't need to panic. This is not a time to panic. It's a very scary time in the world, yes. However, what you focus on expands. If you have not read the book The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy, I highly recommend that book.
Yeah.
And it's a perspective shift. It's what you focus on. If you're laser focused on, I'm going to achieve this no matter what, you will achieve it. However, if you're focused on one thing for 3 minutes and then every slight turn of the head with the next squirrel,
Squirrel. Yeah.
multitasking is the worst thing you could possibly do. It's actually the number one thing that stops people from achieving their goals. Whereas attention to focus right now is the most valuable currency you can have in this day and age where distractions are everywhere. The people who learn to focus their energy and take that focus into the next zone, these are going to be the people that are going to be ahead versus behind and panicking. If you're allowing everything to pull your energy and distract you in a different way, you might wake up the next day very frustrated, very depressed, very overwhelmed, very anxious, and we don't want that. We don't want that. I'll tell one last quick story, Steve, that I always love to leave an audience with. And it was told to me by a mentor years ago, where it goes a little something like this. When God's trying to teach you a lesson, he's just going to send a little feather. There's like a little feather that he'll just whisper in your ear, like, oh, a little feather over here. Hey, you might be wanting to pay attention to this. And if we don't pay attention to the feather, he's going to send a brick. So I'm sure there's many people out there that might feel like you're getting hit with bricks right now. It's okay. Don't worry. 70% of America is also. It's at that point that we have to pay attention to those bricks. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves up against a brick wall.
Mm.
So instead of allowing us to just allow that to happen, stay ahead of it. Get ahead of that curve so you don't have to land your face into a brick wall, because it's much harder to get out of a situation when you're already at that brick wall.
That's good. I wondered why I had all those dents in my head. It's all those bricks over the years.
But you can use those bricks to rebuild your house. So that's the good.
Ab,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. This has been great. So many times in your journey, uh, looking back on it, you can see where God was not done with your story yet. And
He had to hit me
what
with a few bricks, though, let me
a
tell you.
few bricks along the way for sure. What words of encouragement would you leave the viewers today, specifically those that feel stuck or maybe even watching this replay and feel unworthy?
Very simple. Surrender. If you think you can do it on your own, you're not going to be able to do it on your own. I've had those moments where, as I mentioned, I dropped to my knees in my kitchen. I've had moments where I was in my closet in fetal position, crying, not knowing what is next. What am I going to do? It still makes me emotional. However, if you just trust that you're supposed to be learning something in this moment, what are you supposed to be learning? And then pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, get around people who encourage you, hire a mentor, whether it's me, whether it's Steve, whether it's somebody that you know. Hire a mentor that's been there before so they can help you and show you the way with God's strength, because you're not going to be able to do it without spiritual leadership. Forget it. His plan is so much better than ours, but we
Yes.
have to surrender to it. We have to surrender to it.
That is so wise. Kristen, this has been awesome. I want to thank you for sharing your experiences with us, your wisdom with us, but most importantly, your heart. I want to thank you for that. It really came shining through. It's been great having you today, guys. We're gonna put all of Kristen's social media links and website into the show notes. The link for her TEDx talk we'll put in the comments. And guys, I know also she didn't really she mentioned this vaguely, but she also has a free masterclass coming up. Gosh, December 2nd, maybe. Am I right?
They're ongoing. Yeah, they're always ongoing. The most recent one right now is December 2nd. Yes.
Yeah. So, we'll put that in the comments also. But guys, what I really want to encourage you with today is no matter where you're at on the journey, you have a lot to be thankful for. You have a community here that believes in you. You have Lord Almighty that definitely believes in you. You're not alone and you are worthy. And we're so grateful for each one of you. As we go into Thanksgiving tomorrow, I just want to take a moment and say, I am super grateful for each one of you. This group's not about me. It's about you. And it's about us all rising together and being grateful for one another. So thank you to each one of you. Hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll be back with you soon. Guys, God bless. Take care.
Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.